So this is a selection of books, workbooks, tools that I use for my practice of therapy that maybe shaped me as a therapist, but that also ask useful questions. Hi, my name is Natalia and I'm a psychotherapist. For me, life is an adventure. Life is like a journey that starts with our birth and ends with our death. And being an existential therapist and also psychotraumatologist, I often ask myself the question, what makes life worth living? And honestly, I think each decade or maybe each 5 years of my life, I would give a different answer. But for now, what makes life fun and worth living is the impact I have on other people's lives.
Really happy to have you here. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself. What makes you you?
Oh wow, I think I'm a jack of many trades, to be honest, because my main profession is that I work as a psychotherapist as well as a psychotraumatologist. So I work with people and their stories, and I generally help them to live more fulfilling lives. But also, apart from that, I used to work and I still dabble in being an erotic educator. And on top of that, I'm a translator. So yeah, I love languages. I also do some podcasts. You know, there's like so many things.
Wow, there's so many things. But okay, I have so many questions. But let's start with a very basic one. What things happen in your life that helped you make these choices?
Well, I didn't study psychology. I studied theater and then I studied the therapy and psychotraumatology. So that was a little bit different way to find my occupational path, to be honest, because I started with I started with psychosexual therapies, and then I went to the solution-focused and existential therapies field.
From theater to psychodermatology, how?
Why? How? Yeah. So I think we would have to go really back to my past, because if you would ask me when I was a little girl what I wanted to do with my life, there was a common theme. I wanted to be famous. Yeah, and as a teenager and going through the first degree at the university, I was planning to become a theater director. Never got into theater school despite many attempts, but then I realized that the thing that attracted me to the theater was that it's a medium to tell the stories, to recognize people's psyche, to just express yourself in an artistic manner. Because it was a safe way to actually come closer to your feelings, to your emotions, without actually expressing them per se. This desire, I kind of interpret it now. Yeah, maybe in the past it was about being seen, but now I think about it more like leaving a mark. And I feel like I'm doing that because maybe it's like a pursuit of not to be forgotten, so to be remembered somehow. And in my field and in the things that I do, I have the feeling that I left so many marks already.
What is this thing about not being forgotten, leaving a mark? Because a lot of people also when they grow like to 30, 40, they suddenly become having this existential crisis. They say, oh, what am I doing with my life? Am I going to leave a legacy behind me?
Yeah.
Is there something that is similar to what you said?
I guess so, but I think there are certain events in our lives that make us question our choices, the way we were living our lives. And for me, I think this kind of rethinking point, and I don't think it was an existential crisis per se, but for me that point was losing one of my parents to cancer, and like observing the decline of health and then the death, and then realizing by this observation that my parent didn't actually live. And also I saw the consequence of that, which was a great depression and decline after the diagnosis. It's also a time for many people to reevaluate their choices, to like actually focus on what they were maybe missing in their lives, what they wanted always to do but maybe won't get a chance or like get closer to that. And I saw none of it. And for me it was like a point that I thought, I don't want that. And this was the year that I started doing many things that I previously thought, oh, it's too late for that. So this is how I signed up for another master's program. I started learning another language that I'm now proficient in, and it was the language that I always wanted to learn. And I read lots of books, even though I was telling myself before, I don't have time to read fiction. I don't have time to consume stories, like made up stories. And for me, it was a certain, this witnessing of decline and death was something that I think paradoxically bounced me back to life.
Death.
Death, yeah.
That is a very interesting topic I want to explore with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a as you said, like paradoxical concept, because people who had, like for example, near-death experience or have been really close to death, it really forced them to reflect on what exactly does it mean to be living.
Yeah, and some people will think that, or will go towards like spending more time with family. Maybe they will, I don't know, go on the path of forgiving people who wronged them. Maybe that will be something else.
Yeah.
Maybe they will change their profession. Maybe they will, I don't know, start a new hobby.
Yeah.
And the beauty of it is that it's so individual, because there's no one path, no one thing that gives life a meaning.
Yeah.
For me, it's leaving the mark. For someone else, it will be creating a happy family. And this diversity of points of view, or for someone it will be activism as well, changing the world, which is great. There is space for everyone and for every perspective.
Yeah.
And that also fascinates me, right? Where people find the meaning.
So would you recommend people to think more about that?
Oh yeah, definitely. One day this is going to end.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it in a way that, okay, therefore life is pointless. What's the point of living if it's gonna end one day?
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if we look how we live our lives, like we go on holiday, we don't arrive somewhere and just sit in one place and just waiting it out until the holiday is over.
Yeah.
We go, we see places, we taste food, we talk to people, we experience things.
Yeah.
And maybe thinking about life as a holiday or a journey with a beginning and an end is kind of helpful to like do more things in between.
Yeah.
So between you arrive and between you actually need to check out.
It really reminds me a lot of the theories that I have studied. Like for example, it's quite close to what Heidegger mentioned about that you actually can live when you realize that death is just close to you, is part of you, that it could happen in any moment. That's where you actually started to live the Dasein, that moment. And it also reminds me of this book, Tibetan Buddhism of Life and Death, because it also talks about how our society trying to hide the death in the way that we don't really talk about it. It's some kind of like a taboo, and that is always like bit like hiding in the dark corner, and even like in the movies and in the media, you see a lot of like that like very randomly. It become numbers, or it become like something that entertaining. Something that you really capture you to think about the depth and the meaning behind it. What's the implication that that will bring you?
And I think what you're saying about the society, on a societal level, we're hiding death, or like we're pushing it away, and kind of living in a delusion that death doesn't exist, or it only exists in someone else's reality, in someone else's world. Yeah, that's creating an illusion, but it's also pushing the life away, because death is a part of life. And what you were saying, I think there are now movements that are quite contrary to hiding death. For example, I'm kind of involved or like participate in death cafes, which are the conversations that people just gather and talk about death, their own, someone else's, just about this concept. And like there is something that's called death dinners. So it's literally your dinner party, but you talk about the inevitable. For me, it's so strange that there are two events in our lives that we experience totally alone, and it's birth and it's dying. And no one else will live it for us.
And that's also one of the reason why I studied this project, to understand like, hey, if this is actually the journey, what are the other people doing? I also want to understand what other people are exploring, and how can they inspire the others to also do differently.
What touches me right now is this realization that in my house with my partner, we have this joke that if one of us coughs or like sneezes or has like this kind of physical fit, we ask each other, "Are you dying?" And then the answer is always, "Aren't we all?" And yeah, this is it. This is, we're all slowly dying right now, and it doesn't matter if we cough. We just we walk on the street and we're slowly dying.
You study, so many different things. You experience so many things. You have such a deep reflection about experience about life and death. Have you experienced existential crisis?
Yes, actually, I did experience existential crisis, and it was the year before, or like a couple of months before I turned 30. Because I think for women and people who are socialized as women, this 30 mark is really like somehow painful. And then I was thinking that wasn't the best period of my life, to be honest, because it also, that was really weird, because it also was connected and I think intertwined with the decline of my physical health. I had this thought that like, if from now on my life is gonna look like this, then there is no point. And I think it was the moment of not having a clear direction, no real purpose.
What did you do with it?
I think it just passed. And I don't quite believe myself when I say that, but when my 30th birthday came and nothing really changed, but I think arriving at that point, at that mark, and looking at myself in the mirror and just, experiencing my body as I usually experience it, I've noticed that it didn't really change that much. And it was a question, okay, so this is the second act of my life, so to say. How are we going to how are we going to use it? To do what? And I think, yeah, it became better from them.
What would you suggest people to do with this uncomfortableness?
Oh, don't push it away. Don't try to numb it with things, alcohol, drugs, whatever. Or just like push it down or lock it in a little box. Just sit with this feeling. Because sometimes from the great dread come really great things. And it's a good question to ask yourself, what makes my life worth living? This question is really simple, but can really open so many doors and inspire so many answers. Because for anyone, for any person, the reason to keep on living will be different, and that's okay.